Hey, what's up, YouTubers? I got another game. This is Kasparov versus Gelfand, and it's gonna be another Sozin Attack game. And this time, I want to show you guys this line where Black plays e6, but this time he doesn't play knight b7 on move 7, but instead b5 here. So this is Kasparov versus Gelfand. That was a game played in Lunares in 1993. And so after b5, Kasparov just castles here, and Black played bishop e7. Now, you will have to be ready for this move. And normally what happens is you'll put your knight on a4, and if they take here, there are some tactical possibilities after queen h or queen f3, and possibly queen h5. That's a sacrifice that you can look into on your own. I'm not going to cover it in this game, but just know that you do have play after b4 and knight takes e4. So it's not the end of the world there. And bishop e7 was played in the game. Queen f3. So in the last couple games, we saw positions where white tried to play f4, f5 real quickly, and the game became tactical right off the bat. This one is a little bit different strategically because, well, with queen f3, it does already set up a trap, which is it x-rays the rook in the corner, and it also gets ready to hit the knight and the rook at the same time. Now, queen c7 was played in the game, but I want to look at what would happen if black just castled, just, didn't know what he was doing, and let e5 come. Okay, well, let's say he takes the pawn, knight takes e6. Thematic sacrifice. A lot of times you'll see pieces being sacrificed on e6 in the Sozin Attack, and this is a nice little trick. Knight takes e6, the desperado knight sacrificed. After f takes e6, the queen wins the rook in the corner. So going back to this position, let's say black just moves the knight, right? He plays knight d5, white takes on d5, e takes d5, bishop takes d5, hits the rook, rook a7, now e6, boom, stinger. That's a good move. F takes e6, knight takes e6. So really good position for black. Okay, well, if black takes the queen, the knight takes d8, comes with check. This is the big point, right? It comes with check so that you're going to win the rook on the next move, and black can't take the knight on this move. So that's why white's winning in that line. And let's say instead of taking the queen here, takes the knight instead. We'll just bishop takes the check, and after the king moves the h8, queen h3 is a real good move. And this is going to be a very unpleasant position to play for black. Okay, so going back, we can conclude that castling is not the way to go here. Queen c7 is one move that you'll see a lot here, and the other move is where black puts the queen on b6, and generally there's nothing to fear in that line either. I can't show every single line in these videos, but what I'm trying to do is give a basic overview and give enough practical information so that you could play these lines comfortably in your games on Lead Chess. So queen g3. So the point of queen c7 was that if white tries e5 now, then black can meet it with bishop b7 now that the queen is guarding that bishop, because otherwise e5 would have been good. Now black stops that threat, white creates another threat on the g pawn. So black just castles and bishop h6 was played. Black defends the g pawn with knight e8. By the way, this is all still theory. In case you were wondering, this is all book theory, book lines here. Rook a d1, bishop d7 here. So bishop d7 is fine. A way that black could go wrong is if he puts the bishop on b7 instead, and you'll see this in your games. And again, go ahead and pause. You could pause the video here and try to just figure out what white would play. Go ahead and pause it. All right, so the move here is bishop takes e6, exclam. F takes e6, and knight takes e6, where we're forking the rook and the queen. So those type of sacrifices are always, you should always be on the lookout for. You always want to keep your eye on the e6 square when you're playing this attack, and bishop d7 is definitely the better square for the bishop. You're going to see the bishop go here more often than not because, you know, e6 is tender. So keep in mind the light squared bishop, black's light squared bishop, needs to sort of babysit that e6 pawn in these Sozin lines. Knight f3 was played, and now b4. Okay, so b4 is an okay move. I actually think a5 is an improvement, which we'll see in the next game. And so after b4 was played here, knight e2, a5, knight f4, and king h8. So now that the king is out of the pin, the bishop is actually threatened. And by the way, if white played a4 in this position, we'd have bishop takes g7, knight takes g7, knight h5 is just winning. Knight h5 is winning. There's no way to stop this attack now. And so king h8, definitely a more careful move. And white plays bishop g5 here. And black played knight f6. Now with bishop g5, Kasparov was setting another trap here. Was that if this bishop was taken here, we take with the knight, and now let's say a move like a4. Well, queen h3, intermediate move, threatening a checkmate, and forcing h6, after which, boom, again, the third time, right? Bishop takes e6, f takes e6. These minor piece sacrifices on e6, even when there is a bishop on d7, are very good here. Knight g6 check, king g8, knight takes f8, king takes f8, knight takes e6 check. You know, this is game over. Okay, so instead of bishop takes g5 here, what about if black just played f6? Is there anything wrong with this? Go ahead and pause the video here and try to figure out the move, which should be pretty obvious now. Bishop takes e6. And if they take the bishop here, knight g6 check. Ooh, that is the reason why we play chess, to play moves like that. Knight g6, h takes g6, queen h3 is checkmate. So that's pretty brutal right there. Okay, so knight f6 doesn't look like anything special, but actually it's a really good move, and it got out of a lot of traps that black could have fell into. And queen h4 keeps the pressure up. Bishop b5 here, attacking the rook. Knight d4 was played by Kasparov. Now, so clearly Kasparov doesn't care about his rook being taken here, nor should he. And bishop e8 was played in the game. So why? And so he gave it up. He attacked the rook, and then he just went home. Mainly because, let's say if he did take the rook, Kasparov would take on e6 for a fourth time. We see that over and over again. A piece taking on e6 here. Bishop takes e6, and now g6. Now here's the thing with this position, it's already losing for black. If g6, well, let's say if h6 instead, right? Bishop takes h6, and if you take that queen h6 block, and it's game over. So h6 is unplayable. g6 is also unplayable because the knight takes g6. And after king g7, queen h6 mate. Look at that beautiful checkmate. So both those moves are failing here. And g6, actually g6 and h6 are both failing. Bishop e8 here, well, that was the move that was played in the game. And still there was a sacrifice here from Kasparov. Knight takes e6, queen a7. So queen a7, e5, d takes e5. Knight takes f8 was played in the game. Bishop takes f8. Bishop takes f6, g takes f6. Rook d8. Knight d7 here. Trying to alleviate a little bit of pressure. Black could have went wrong with knight c6, where queen takes f6 check, bishop g7, queen e6, right? So a lot of light square weaknesses being exploited. Knight e7 here, rook takes, then after queen takes, the knight just drops, and white should win that game. Now, knight d7, clearly the better move here, because it keeps defense of this square up, right? Well, queen g4 is a good move. And if rook takes d8, that was played in the game, and queen g8, or well, actually, that wasn't played in the game. He actually resigned here, but if the rook is taken, I just wanted to show that queen g8 is mate. And if you don't take the rook, let's say you play bishop g7, there you go, queen e6. Again, a piece coming to e6. e6 is just an important square all around in these lines. So there's a mate threat here, and there's not really a good way to stop it. And yeah, and let's say bishop g6 in this position, right? Queen e6 still. So, you know, already we can see that black was pretty much doomed, you know, after this whole sequence right here. You know, regardless of where he put the knight or what he did, there was just too many weaknesses around the king, and that's how that game ended. Thank you.